I'm here to break down why it's not working for Liverpool. And I've got 4 reasons, 4 theories on why it's just not clicking for Arne Slot's very expensive side, okay? And bonus, I've got one at the very end. I've got a 5th bonus. And some of these are going to be a little crazy. You might not really agree with these, and maybe they're not even true, and maybe I don't even agree with them. But let's dive in, because this is the channel that is all Liverpool all the time. It's all red. Yes, please like and subscribe. Number 1, the squad. The core squad did not like the summer transfer window that Liverpool put on this summer. Obviously, all eyes were on them all summer long, especially after we purchased Florian Wirtz, and then Ekitike, and then there was the whole Isak saga that even some Liverpool fans were not comfortable with. And I think there could be some merit to this. I think there could be some scenarios where Liverpool's core group of players just didn't sit well with them, and they did not agree with who was sold, who was let go. Maybe players like Harvey Elliott. Maybe Salah didn't like that Darwin Núñez was sold. I think they had a good chemistry and a good bond. And the whole thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold and him leaving on a free and kind of abandoning the team. And then, of course, the whole Jota thing, which was just a tragedy that nobody saw coming, of course. And that has played, I think, it's put a big shadow on this team. But I think there could be some merit to, there's just a lot of overhaul. Maybe some friends were separated. Some friends were kind of, let go of, and that just didn't sit right. And that's not necessarily on Arne Slot. That could be Slot, Hughes, Edwards, all 3 of them together, that some of the players just were not big fans of some of those moves. And I think there could be some merit to this one. And I think that probably happens all the time in football. This is not special to Liverpool this season, but when you do that much business, when you sell that many players and you buy that many players to come in, there's probably going to be some feelings hurt and some friendships lost, and that might just not sit right. It might be hard for players to lock in and really buy into this completely new system, because it is a new system. All right, number 2, Slot doesn't have Klopp's charisma. I think we all know this is true, but how does it actually affect the squad? So players are flat. Maybe players just aren't buying into the Slot system. Maybe there is a lack of system, or there's just a lack of patience for what could be and what could come. Klopp had this charisma about him in his very first season. He was kind of single-handedly just willing the team to these magical results. And I think Arne Slot doesn't have that. I think there have been some magical results. I think there have been some magical moments under Slot so far. But I think maybe that ran out at the turn of the new year in 2025, when Arne Slot just seemed like he kind of ran out of answers. Obviously, Liverpool won the league very, very quickly last season, and then everything just kind of fell apart. You look at all their exits from all the cups last season, and they just could not do anything. They could not find results when they needed them, and I think that's. I don't know. I don't know if it's Slot. I don't know if it's Slot or the squad, but you have to look at the manager first. And maybe there's just no personal connection, and maybe that current old guard that has been at Liverpool now for 4 or 5 years, maybe they just have not been able to rekindle that connection with their manager. And maybe Slot just doesn't quite have that it factor that Klopp had. Not saying that he has to have that, but when you have a core of players that are used to that, that could leave a big gap, and that could be a problem. All right, number 3, just too big of a squad overhaul. I'm going to do another video about this, because this was a big deal. This was a huge summer, the biggest summer in Liverpool's history as far as numbers go, as far as sales and purchases and the amount of money spent. This was one of the biggest squad overhauls of all time. And maybe, just maybe, the team just needs a lot more time for this to all gel together. And maybe we just need more patience, because history tells us that when you do a squad overhaul this big, yes, even after you've won the Premier League, I feel like we're ahead of schedule with Slot to some degree. We've won the league last season, but that was kind of an anomaly, I think, because now we've got a completely different team. Completely different team. I mean, we sold like half the squad and brought in half a new squad and spent a lot of money to do that with players that didn't know a system, players that didn't know how to play together. And by the way, I think Arne Slot is kind of changing his tactics because he had different tactics last year because we had a different team. And I think he saw like, hey, I can work with this team. He probably didn't have the budget to spend last summer, but I can work with this team. I can use certain tactics to get the results we need. But then we're going to just completely overhaul it next summer. We're going to get rid of certain players I just don't believe in. And we're going to change our tactics to really build this into a machine. Now, that's my hope of what is going on behind the scenes. We're not seeing that yet. We're not seeing the results of that yet. But I think there could be some truth to this of it's just too big of an overhaul, and we can't expect Liverpool to be this amazing, well-oiled machine that's just cranking out win, 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 win. I think it's just too big, and I think there is a little bit more patience that is needed, I think, for this squad. Okay. This is the wild one, all right? Salah's contract. We don't know the ins and outs of this contract, but are Arne Slot's hands tied by Salah's contract? Does he not have the ability to drop Mo Salah? And before you say, well, he dropped him for, Galatasaray or something like that. He dropped him for one of those Champions League fixtures, and he dropped him for the Carabao Cup. No. Salah maybe has the ability to say, hey, I'm good with you dropping me for this game, coach. I'm good to sit. But every other time that Salah's like, I'm playing this week, contractually, maybe Salah has that power. Maybe Richard Hughes, maybe his hands were tied because he needed to re-sign Mo Salah for the public optics. And maybe he had to write that in to get it across the finish line. And now maybe Arne Slot is frustrated with that, and he can't show it. He can't show that frustration. Maybe the other players are frustrated with that because they can't show it either, but they're frustrated. I know they're frustrated on the pitch. I've seen the body language when Mo Salah misses a big chance or misses a big pass that would basically lead to a tap-in goal. The players are so frustrated, and that affects you. That affects your whole team. And guys, I'm really not trying to be a Salah hater. Living legend, one of the best to ever do it, Liverpool legend, of course. But I watch the games. I see the results. I see every time Mo Salah has possession. And what happens? The majority now, 98% of the time, it's not good. And it just completely demoralizes the entire team because they have to get him the ball. But what happens when they get him the ball? Everything falls apart. Now, I've never been in a Premier League player or anything even close to that. But I can tell you, when you play with a player like that, and if you give him the ball, stuff's not going to work out. And there's going to be a little bit of selfishness. And you just kind of, you pass them the ball or they get the ball from somebody else, and you just kind of mentally check out. You just kind of give up. And I think that might be happening a little bit with Mo Salah. Love the guy, love the player. I just don't think he deserves to start right now for Liverpool. And maybe Arne Slot's hands are tied a little bit. Okay, bonus. Maybe it's just all too big for Arne Slot. Maybe he's never been on a big stage like this. He hasn't. He hasn't been on a big stage like this. And maybe it's just too big. Maybe it's just too big for Arne Slot's little boots. And that could be the case. Maybe that's, I've heard from a lot of Feyenoord fans that, Arne Slot's going to figure this out. He's always done it across his career. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. This is all part of the plan. But maybe it's just too big. Liverpool are one of the maybe top 3 biggest clubs in the world. And I don't think you can really argue that. That's a big job. That's a big jump to go from very, very good, loyal fan base at Feyenoord. But making that jump from Feyenoord to Liverpool, that is a massive jump. And we can't discount that. And I think Arne Slot has the calmness and coolness to make this work. But is he actually smart enough to figure this out? Is he actually maybe humble enough to admit when he's wrong and try new things? Or is he like a lot of other managers that come into the Premier League? Is he just not able to figure it out? Maybe he's too stubborn and maybe it's not going to work out, but I'm not there yet. I'm still not there yet, but I'm just saying it could be too big for him. So that's what I got. Guys, I'd love to know what you think. Get your comments in below now. Do it right now. And as always, guys, don't ever forget this. Up the rest.